let us begin. You're listening to session 93 of Primordial Harmony, a retelling of the classic elemental evil story in the Dungeons & Dragons multiverse. My name is Mike, I run this, and tonight I'm joined by...
Hey, name is Miles. I play Chadicus Winthrop, the best cook in Force Stride, and also a human druid.
Hey, I'm Nyx. I play Naughty Bite, but for short, she's a tabaxi monk.
And I am Kitties, and I play Ren, a larger-than-life Goliath barbarian.
And I'm Senna, and I'm playing Snow, the Elven Tempest cleric.
Our pal Zephin shan't be able to join us this evening, I'm pretty sure, for he is reported being under the weather. Not that under the weather, but under the weather. So, in light of that, we will begin with the recap. We left GTF in a slight limbo on what to do next. Many leads and pressing matters available to them, not to mention Ignacio, a loose thread they have yet to tug. Ultimately, Chadicus sends word via animal messenger to Alquinus, the wood elf from the Order of Lichen, hoping that, despite the limitations of the spell, that the Order of Lichen would receive news that the source of the embers was doused. After Vardic pays respects to the burial of his fallen comrades, the group sets forth northward, a few miles away from the entrances to the fire cult's empty lair. They set down for the night. The next morning, a few hours into their trip, Ignacio seems to be overpowered and corrupted by the gem newly inlaid into his forehead. Lysandra, it seems, is aware of his defection and causes his being to emulate into a sorceress fire elemental. After a pitched battle, it and so Ignacio is destroyed. But the group finds in his cloak that somehow survived the inferno a letter. However, before they could get to reading this letter, a falcon with bright green plumage appeared from the north, and to his chagrin, perched atop Stoneflame's head. The falcon was an animal messenger from Alquinus. The wood elf pleaded with the group the wood elf that pleaded with the group to stop the source of the embers in the first place. He seemed to get Chadicus' message and replied with gratitude, offering the group a boon on behalf of the Order's leader, Sir Samular, informing them to head directly north into the forest until they reached the river. After some deliberation, the group decided to take the offer. We return to Kythron 28, the late afternoon. The nasty, hazy hills surrounding you after the hawk falcon with the green plumage has left. The cloak still in somebody's hand. It's quiet. This area of the region is quiet because there's all this haze around you, and there's no wind. So, the only thing you can hear are your footfalls.
Chadicus thinks to himself it's nice having a random around because she has, louder footfalls. It's not just him stomping around everywhere.
And Ren is kind of like a bull in a china shop. She's a little loud when she walks around.
Stoneflame is rubbing his head after the falcon leaves. Dumb bird.
That was a great use of your head.
He says, "My head is not the perch."
It was still a great use of your head.
He just kind of grumbles and then looks toward looks north in the direction of the forest.
What was in the trader's cloak? Did anybody look? He might have had enough money for us to get something good to eat. Or make Chadicus cook.
I mean, if we'd like that, I can do that later. But right now, we should probably start heading towards that village or city. I'm not sure how large it is.
Wait, where are we going?
Aren't we meeting with our friends?
What was in the cloak?
I was in the cloak. Am I misremembering something?
So you you guys found when Ignacio was like forced to transform into that weird thing, he pulled his cloak off before he could turn into fire, and then somebody investigated it at the end of the session and found a slip of paper inside that looked like it had writing on it.
If I was the one that did that, I would like to read the writing.
Okay.
Not sure if I was, but I'll go with it.
I'm not remembering who had the cloak.
Somebody did. Okay.
I don't have that written down.
I'm going to make my best Ignacio impression. First thing you realize is when you open this piece of parchment, it's addressed to Snow.
Oh. I close it before reading any more, and I kind of walk over to her and I hand it to her. I believe this is yours.
I will take it and I'll read it.
All right.
What does it say, Miss Snow? Can we hear?
I'll read it out loud.
Thank you.
All right. Here, I'll. Okay, let me ask. Do you want to read it, or do you want me to read it? In terms of effort.
You should read it.
Okay. I'm gonna try my best Ignacio voice, and that'd be funny as hell if Justin just kind of came in the middle of it. He had kind of that lucrative sounding voice, right? The kind of syrupy, like, hello. That was what
Yes.
he did, right? Dearest Snow, if you are reading this, I was unable to convince you of my betrayal. Please do not regret any feelings that you have for me, for my heart belongs to another. Over the past couple of weeks that we spent traveling together, I really, truly did feel like there was something more for me than what I had already been a part of. But before, during, and after, a member of the Cult of the Eternal Flame. Or he said, I was before, during, and after a member of the Cult of Eternal Flame. My hope was that I could provide you with more information, but alas, time was not on my side in this desire. Deep within the temple now lays a dragon of vast power. I suggest you do not tangle with it. Though if you do decide to ignore my warning, I hope that your so-called winter goddess truly does favor you. I enjoyed our time together. If fate had been different, perhaps I could have persuaded Lizzie to leave the cult. I'm sure there is good in her. Sincerely yours, Ignacio.
I crumble it up and litter it.
Yeah, he was a real traitor.
It appears he bet wrong.
Stoneflame just kind of like rubs the back of his head and he says, so was Lizzie the one that turned him into the big fire monster?
It was the contact he had, the one in the cult. So perhaps the voice we heard was that of Lizzie.
But he was a traitor to everybody. Come on, he was a traitor to us. He was a traitor to them. He was a traitor to everyone. World's a little better without him.
If you say
I
so.
agree, Ren.
I just met the guy. And then he turned into a monster. Easy come, easy go.
It's significantly safer than
Come on, Perchhead, let's get moving.
So where are we going?
To the river.
if you find the right fish there, you could put it on his head and he could be a perch head with a perch on it.
Oh, you're so clever, Mr. Chaticus. That is so funny.
Stoneflame just kind of looks at Chaticus with a pleading look. And then he just kind of starts walking northward. So, it is a couple of hours into the day here. I think you've traveled about 10 miles today already. Wow, that's really inconvenient. Uh, so, after some hoofing it, you cross the trail here, and the wind sort of starts picking up. And it's still quiet because you're entering the area that is still sort of smoldering. But the smoke has started to clear excuse me. Started to clear mostly. And you can see in the horizon that just far off on the horizon, you can see the top of the tree line beyond the ash. But at this point, as you cross the tree line, the old tree line, the day starts to grow late. The sun's still up because it is the middle of summer, but Chaticus especially can feel his feet starting to talk to him.
How much further is this Order of Lichen?
You want a piggyback ride?
I would never do such a embarrassing thing, but we could rest, possibly.
Oh, okay. Just for you, Mr. Chaticus. Miss Snow, he's not gonna make it much longer.
It's a good idea to rest then. I need time to prepare new spells as well.
You have spells. I really want to learn spells good.
Question: has Snow ever used the special ice water walk ability? Not the spell, but the ability she got from Kine. Not Kine. The other guy. Wow, I forgot his name. Ice guy.
So did I.
Kaleholt.
Yeah, that guy. She did coming back from the Ice Palace. And then also...
Well, I asked, did she use it in front of Stoneflame?
No.
Okay. Not even the first time you got to that river? Because you've crossed the river before.
Oh, well then, yes.
Okay. Then, Stoneflame looks to Snow and says, that water walking thing you do, is that a spell? Because if we're going to the river, we probably need to walk across it, unless we can just ford it.
My ability to walk on water is divinely bestowed by my goddess. However, I do know the spell that can allow people to walk on water.
Oh, he says, a little bit of deference.
Well, you know, he probably could use a bath. It's been a while.
He lifts his arm. Whew! You're probably right. I will sleep a few feet away from the party to preserve you. Would anybody like to have a scene this night?
But one question. I think we got to level 10.
Yes, level up.
Cool.
If you haven't already, level up. Actually, that's a good thing. Thank you for mentioning
Level
that.
10?
Level 10! Make sure you're there.
5.
That's average for 12, huh?
Actually, it's lower because you have your con mod added, so it's actually 10 is your average because you're adding your con mod. Mm-mm-mm. Did you add your hit points, your max hit points to your hit points right now, Kitties?
No, not yet.
Okay. How about Chaticus?
I just did, yes.
Okay. Also, make sure to give yourself a long rest.
Whoops.
Oh,
Spell slot.
what a powerful spell. The spell of Vism. Oh, I didn't know I could do that. I just discovered a feature in OneNote. If you write a mathematical expression and then you hit space equals space, it'll calculate it out for you. Let me know when you're good to go.
I'm good.
I'm good.
I can't hear you if you're saying something, Miles.
Oh, yeah, I'm good now too.
Yeah, I'm good.
Alright. You have your max HP added up, Ren?
Yep.
Okay. And Zachriel's really chunky, because even at 118... Wait. Yeah. The Barbarian Ren is still only a hit point ahead of Zachriel at level 10. Which is interesting. Really built a tank. Anyway, one note. Okay. um. Okay. So you guys wake up, you pack up camp, and you begin heading into the still smoldering, but burnt out area of the forest. And walking through all of this is kind of surreal because you're just here the day ago and the devastation is still very apparent. But you notice that in a couple of spots, the pipe that was bringing these weird embers that caused the trees to glow alight and alive with fire, someone's been through here recently, and there's some parts where the pipes are just ripped out, and you can see that there's no embers or anything flowing through them anymore. And what was once this weird heat that was coming from below you isn't present anymore. Yeah. So, you guys make your way through the smoldering area. Oh no! Why is that on the token layer? Get out of here. I'm gonna just delete you. Alright. As you guys make your way through the smolder, you see the verdant tree line approach, and as you leave the ashen fire line behind, you enter the green, the soil springing underfoot, with castings and detritus, only a bit dry from the summer weather. The light of day is verdant, as the harsh summer sun is filtered by the canopy. Your journey is uninterrupted by any sort of obstacles. I need to change the music here real quick. It's very nice. The light of day is verdant as the harsh summer sun is filtered by the thick canopy. Your journey uninterrupted by orcs or creatures. Your only obstacles are a hill or a fallen tree, easily navigated. And soon, you come across, or you begin to hear running water.
I did not mean to press that. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't hear anything on my side, so... Oh, you did something in the game? Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Unless you want to play out a scene, you see a squirrel.
Yeah.
Alright. But you hear water, and you can see through, just over some brush, is the Tildera River as it runs through the forest. Here, the current is swift and the water deep. No rocks breach the surface to churn any foam. The broadleaf trees' branches extend over the flowing water, leaving the place well shaded. The water is cool and refreshing. Stoneflame kneels at the bank and takes some in his hands and just splashes his face.
She is going to do that. She wants to collect some foods and make sure the drinking water is good and make sure that they're not in danger.
Okay. You can land within 3 miles of you in caves and in this radius spells. You instantly gain knowledge of up to 3 facts of your choice about any of the following subjects. Okay, so pick the subjects: terrain and bodies of water, prevalent paths, minerals, animals, or powerful peoples. What?
So she wants to make sure the water is good to drink.
Okay.
Because there have been fires around and toxins could be in the water. If there's anything around that they could, forage for.
Okay.
And if there's any nefarious, powerful people around.
Nefarious? Oh, right, this is formatted weird, I remember now. Fae, fiends, elementals, or undead influence from other planes of existence. The water is clean. And, okay, so you want to know if the water is clean and what else?
Any kind of food that they can forage. Berries, apples, close by. You know,
Yeah.
good stuff to eat.
And what was the other one? You have 3.
Nefarious, powerful peoples.
Nefarious, powerful peoples. You detect powerful peoples, but not nefarious that you can tell. But as you... go on.
I think we're pretty close to where we need to be.
Stoneflame puts his hands in the water and starts drinking.
I'm going to cast Locate Creature on Alquinas. Alquinas?
Good enough. Well, how long does that take? Are you casting as a ritual?
It's not... Is it a ritual?
I don't know.
I don't think it is. It just takes 1 action.
Okay, well, you cast that, and just as you cast that, you realize he's right across the bank, and you hear some brush move, and you hear, "Ah, you've come!" And you can see across the water is Aquinas, on the opposite side of the bank, waving at you. And he says, "Cross over to the northern shore here and follow." And he just stands there, waiting.
How deep is it?
He looks down, and he says, "It's quite deep, and very fast."
I'll cast Water Walk on everybody.
Except for Stoneflame, he needs a bath.
He says, "But the current is fast. I don't want to be washed away."
Okay.
So you guys cross the river.
Yeah, Bit goes fast. She wants to get it over with.
This is very interesting.
You find that even though you're on the water, it's like walking on a conveyor belt. And you find that you kind of have to change your trajectory a little bit to stay perpendicular to the river.
If I walk with it, do I go really fast like one of those airport things?
That's exactly what it is.
No.
Ren keeps bumping into Stoneflame to see if she can knock him in the water.
Are you actually trying to knock him prone?
No. It's just that little hip bump. See if she can knock him off balance, thinking that maybe he'll fall in the water, but realizing that it's actually a spell cast on him, it won't work.
Well, I mean, he can still be prone. I imagine if he rolls over, he'd still get wet. Are you actually gonna like attempt to, or are you just?
Oh no.
Okay.
She's just messing around, just kind of like, you know how you walk by somebody, just throw your hip at them.
Mm-hmm. Hey.
What? I was just a little off balance.
But you guys do make your
It
way.
rocks up.
What?
Are you doing what I think you're doing?
Who is she saying that to? You cut out.
The Ren.
I'm not doing nothing. If he falls in the water and he smells a little better for the class.
It'd be really funny if you did.
I mean, I could make it happen.
Please don't make
Do
it
you
happen.
need any help?
Don't worry. Let's wait till he goes to
Let's
sleep
bring
tonight.
this to her.
Let's go when he goes to sleep tonight. Let's just give him a bath.
It's good.
So you guys make it to the other shore, and Aquinas just has his smile on his face as he's standing akimbo, and he looks at Snow and he says, "It's very impressive."
Thank you.
He says, "Now come." And he starts walking west along the bank. The river winds back and forth very gradually. You're met with, eventually, after a few miles, you are met with a very thick patch of undergrowth in a well-shaded area. Thickets and brambles with thimble-sized violet flowers. He says, "Now, what I am about to show you must remain in your hearts and your hearts alone. You have done a great deed for the forest and our order, and have earned our trust and respect. Whatever you share of your adventures here, do not reveal the location of our priory." And then he starts scanning over, meeting the eyes of each of you. He looks to Snow. He looks to Chaticus. He looks to Bardic. He looks to Ren. He looks to Bit. He looks to Stoneflame. Alright. He moves into the thicket, and he waves for you to follow. And you see as he moves into the brush, it's as if the thorns and the rough stems start to give way.
I will follow him.
Likewise, follow him.
I'm right behind.
And
As you move into the undergrowth, the visage changes. The bramble seems to give way to soft green grasses that are ankle high, and the canopy thins, letting in that emerald light. And ahead of you are pale green walls. The material of the walls themselves you're unsure of, but true to their name, the walls surrounding the Order of Lichen are coated entirely in lichen. The sort of leafy, pale green kind. I'm not sure what its species name is. Alquinus leads you forward toward a gate with portcullis crafted of redwood. In Elvish, Alquinus loudly announces, "I, Alquinus, Squire of Lichen, arrive at our sacred priory with the saviors of our verdant woods." The moment passes, and the gate opens. And he begins to enter through the gate.
We'll follow him through.
Give me a moment.
What do the gates look like?
It's so it's not like a pair of doors. It's like a castle portcullis. It's a wide arch, and then the portcullis itself is made of wood, and it's got a cross. What's the word for it? It looks like. Hang on. I mean, I'll just draw it. It looks like this kind of number. What's that called?
A lattice?
Lattice, yeah. It's a lattice of redwood.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah. Let me try to get this changed. There we go. Oh my god, what's going on? Where'd my scene dressing go? Oh, there it is. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. The inside of the priory. So this isn't exactly what I had envisioned, but it's sort of scene dressing. It's the same kind of setup. But as for the fiction, inside you see a wide open glade with trunks of petrified trees serving as columns. Vines and lichen cover the pillars, and the entire keep seems to be roofed by vines, lichen, and leaves. You see several wood elves, all armored, standing in various spaces conversing, before they turn to you, acknowledging your presence. One of them, in particular, begins to approach a wood elven woman with dark hair that glints a bright blue in the sun walks toward you. She wears ornamental armor of a similar fashion to the warriors you saw while assisting with the firefight. At her side is a long sword. In Elvish, she addresses Alquinus and says, "Thank you for escorting them here, Squire." And then he replies, "Of course, Lady Moonshard," and backs away slightly. Then she switches to Common and she says, "Welcome, welcome, sunderers of those infernal pipes that would have destroyed our home. I am Lady Lyra Moonshard, one of the 4 lords of the Lichen." She bows, and then she gestures the group of you to follow. And she gestures and says, "This is our stronghold and our place of rest, our priory." About 24 that you can sort of estimate wood elves, clearly members of the Order, some armed with bows, short swords, some with simple wooden shields. Among them are 2 other distinct individuals that carry themselves with more command than the rest. They approach you and Lyra. One is an elven woman that appears very petite and gaunt, with short, cut hair, wearing a simple pelt tunic and hide boots. She says, in common, "I am Lady Evelyn Brackenwood." And then her companion, a tall, lithe but broad-shouldered elven man in green leather armor, says, "I am Lord Dre Lillan. We are pleased you accepted our offer, Green Tree Saviors." Lyra then says, "Inviting you here was the idea of our leader, Lord Samular. Unfortunately for the moment, he is away from the Priory on a mission. The orc that you and Vilnadin came across and allowed to flee, Lord Samular believed that there is a potential for a peace," she says with a slight sneer, "using that orc as a means of communication." She says as she tilts her head back and forth, unsure of the words. And she says, "He is searching for them now, and he should be back within the hour. And we can grant you our boon. In the meantime, you may make conversation with any of us. Though some in our order are not fluent in common, you may explore the grounds as well." And then Alquinus, who's still standing with you, pipes up and says, "I can give them a tour, my lady." And she says, "Ah yes, you can show them to their rooms, should you all wish to spend the night within our walls." And Alquinus then looks at the party and says, "A tour wouldn't take too much time, I'm afraid, but I'll be happy to show you around."
That sounds fun. This is a beautiful place.
He smiles and gives a slight bow. And he says, "This is our home, our stronghold." And he kind of says that, even though Lyra already said that, he says it, looks up with a sort of reverence. And then you see him sort of turn in the direction you entered. You entered from... I don't have, this place mapped. I just have a small diagram. But you guys entered from the south, we'll say. And he turns to the north. And you can see at the edge of this whole area, this whole walled-off area, there's this huge plant. And then he looks back and he says, "Oh, all right, follow me." Then he begins walking toward it and he gestures around him and he says, "These are our parade grounds. This is where many of us condition our bodies and spar, and where we hold events, of course." And he continues walking toward this huge plant that you saw. And he looks at it reverently for a moment, and then he looks to the lot of you and he says, "I'll describe that in a moment. I want to save that." And he looks like he's very happy to. Like, he looks like he's trying to form this tour as some sort of, he's sort of saving this huge plant for a crescendo. That word was hard to say for some reason. So he takes you to the left, the the easterly direction. The right, the easterly direction. And the east wing of this keep has a building that is comprised of sturdy redwood that's reinforced with stone. The building from the outside appears to be 2 stories tall, and it's about as wide as a tavern along Vardos Lane. At its side is a small fountain that seems to be built from a natural spring. You can see the lower story is an open-facing workshop, clearly with all the equipment not laid out, but well organized. You see what would indicate a leather tanner, a fletcher, and a smithy. And Elquinus says, these are our dormitories. This is where, when we're not out on patrol, is where we lay our heads. There are plenty of rooms in the upstairs. We have a few empty. This is where we would invite you to rest yourselves for the night, as it is getting late. And then he...
Oh, Ren just says, that sounds good. Thank you.
He smiles.
Indeed, we gracious for any hospitality with us.
Stoneflame says, I wouldn't mind sleeping on a bed again. They're nice and comfy. And then Elquinus says, he looks at Stoneflame and Ren, and he says, hopefully you can fit. And he kind of strokes his cheek.
I do not know if Stoneflame's head can fit in the building anymore.
Hey! And he kind of just nudges Ren.
She nudges him back.
And he says, well, if you'd like to take a look around inside now, feel free.
It looks around inside.
So, there is a double door, and entering through the double door, the craftsmanship of this place is immaculate. All of the flooring has this sheen that you can only get by sanding it with a very fine grain after a long time. It smells like just wood. That really nice redwood smell, if you've ever experienced that before. The stairs are a little cramped, but there's a hall that just has a bunch of small bedrooms, and looking in, you can see that each is complete with a bed that looks very comfortable, a foot locker, and a rack that would probably be suited for weapons or equipment. As for the interior, that's pretty much it, as it is a dormitory. Not many people are in here. Actually, no one's in here except you, as it is still relatively early in the evening.
Okay, I leave the room.
I don't know. Those beds look a little small.
The good news is they don't have a you know how some small single-person beds have that artsy thing where there's a lip at the end, like bedposts, and then there's this semicircle that comes up. There's none of that. They're
A footboard?
yeah, there's no footboards. Thank you, Cinna. Stoneflame just kind of looks in one that Elquinus directed him to, and he scratches his head. And then he kind of measures himself to the bed, and you can see that his lower his calves just hang off. I can make do with this. And he sits
How much
up.
taller is Stoneflame than Ren?
How tall is Ren?
She's 7'3".
They're comparable.
Okay. Stormflame, this is a beautiful place. Maybe we could find a place to sleep under the stars, like we do at home.
You may do that if you wish, says Alquinus. And Stoneflame kind of scratches his head again and says, that might be for the best.
You know, this looks like this ground would feel like cushions here.
And indeed, like, the entire time you're here, the ground feels very soft. The grasses extend the entire length of this area. The entire area of this area. So, Elquinus leads you out, passes the huge plant again, which, looking at it again, it looks more like a tree, but without bark. It looks like it's a tree, but it's just vascular tissue. But he looks at it reverently again, leads you past it, and he leads you to the northwest corner of the priory, which has a small gray building covered in lichen, of course. He says, "This is where we have buried our dead, members of the Order that perished in battle against various threats, mostly orcs. Beneath that, there's a small room which Samular attempts to calm the orcs he captures. You may travel anywhere in the grounds, or if you wish, but we cannot allow you in here. It is sacred to us."
You keep the orcs in there?
No, well, perhaps you'll see when Samular returns.
You know, I am fluent in orc.
He says, perhaps you can tell that to Samular.
Okie dokie.
He says, I'd rather not speak to orcs myself, but he's our leader. He then leads you... Oh,
She just kind of shakes her head, kind of back and forth, kind of like a yes-no kind of thing at the same time.
He begins moving away from this building, which we'll refer to now as the crypt. And he leads you towards a space that is south of it. I have a better art prepared of it, but I just drew a really rough diagram. And across from the stone building that way is a mound of vines and more detritus. And drawing near, you can smell the stench of rotting matter, both animal and plant. While the smell is subtle, as you near, the heat from the mound isn't. You can feel it sort of waft off on it. And Elquinus... Huh?
Ren leans over to Stoneflame and she says really softly, "That is not you, is it?"
No.
Okay.
This is our compost heap. We bury some of the fallen debris and unpalatable parts of game in this... And this sort of sump, and we use the resulting castings and soil to feed our gardens.
It is a very nice compost heap.
It's covering her nose. Can we get going now?
Of course,
Yes.
we don't need to spend much time. Oh, go on.
Chad seems completely unperturbed, even he has a nice little whiff to it.
Ren leans over to Bit and says, "Don't worry, it's not Snowflame."
Right, big giggles.
He then leads you back to that big plant.
I was thinking you might need a long bath.
I think so.
Tonight.
Tonight.
At the back of the priory, that massive plant is where Elquinus leads you, with a stalk as thick as a century-old tree trunk. Smaller stalks branch off of it near the top as a plant would. And looking up, it becomes apparent that the plant's smaller and smaller offshoots are what grant the shade and roof to the priory. And Elquinus smiles and looks at the tree and he says, The proper name of this plant is quite difficult to pronounce. in common, but we call it the life tree. It has a few special properties that grant us the boon we are going to grant to you. I'd say more, but I don't want to steal Sir Samular's thunder. He has a speech he likes to do.
This is a pretty magnificent tree.
Impressive indeed. When is Samuel expected back?
Well, hopefully in just a few moments. It's taken us some time to properly explore the grounds, I would hope. And then you hear this commotion. And in Elvish, you hear, "Raise the portcullis! Lord Samular has returned!" And you can hear the sound of the wood portcullis raising as high as it can. And striding into the parade ground is a... Oh, where'd he go? Oh. Striding into the parade ground is a massive elk with lichen covering its horns and a rider. On the sides of the elk are two more wood elves, one you recognize as a druid with a simple wooden shield, and one that is a more martial type. The rider is a man in pale green armor wielding a glaive, and at his back, bound hand and foot and secured to the elk, is an orc struggling mightily and gnashing his teeth. The wood elves around look in deference to this, that you can now tell is a human man, and with apprehension toward the orc, he dismounts the elk and pats the animal's head. Then he removes the orc and slings them over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes. And he addresses the elk and he says, "Thank you, Elto." And he waves his hand. "I shall call upon you again." Then the elk, saddle, and all disappear. The other lords that you met prior approach him, and they exchange a few words and gesture to you. And you hear him say in common, "Ah, saviors of the glade, welcome!" And he approaches, the orc still slung on his back, still struggling, but it's as if he doesn't even notice. He's holding the creature very securely. He says, "I would like to introduce myself properly, but please allow me some time to try and talk some sense into this orc man. I have good feeling this time." And then he says in Orcish, and as he gestures, he turns his head and looks at the orc on his shoulder, and he says in Orcish, "Come now, I will treat you to a small meal and water." And then he says in Elvish, looking over his other shoulder at one of his companions that was with him when they entered, "Aladar, prepare a small meal." And then he hefts the orc and walks toward the crypt, the orc struggling and growling angrily, but clearly no match for his strength. And he disappears into the stone building. You can see several elves looking in that direction, and some of them have sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? They have skeptical looks on their faces. Then they start talking amongst themselves again. And Lady Lyra Moonshard approaches and she says, "It shouldn't take too much time. It usually doesn't." And she just shakes her head. She shakes her head and says, "While we wait a little longer, would any of you like something to drink? We have some refreshing juices."
I'm sure
Oh,
anything would be
please.
lovely, yes.
What did Chadicus say?
I'm sure anything would be lovely, yes.
Yes, thank you very much.
So, something that Alquinus didn't show you, you watch as she walks toward the dormitories, and there's a gap between the wall and the dormitory, and there's this small relatively, garden that is full of vines of what look like fruiting plants. And she pulls off what looks like a red fruit, and she calls to one of the other squires, who approaches her, and she hands it to him, and he looks up at her, and she nods. And she then, the other wood elf looks back at the party as if you guys are about to get something very delicious. Like, his eyes are wide, and he's like, I can't believe she's giving this to you guys. But he goes into the small workshop, and he goes into what's sort of like a kitchen area, and you see as he juices the fruit, and it makes a surprising amount of volume for its size. And
Does anyone of us know have seen this fruit before?
roll a nature check.
Is it all? Have we only seen elves, and then just the one human man that is Lord Samuel?
Yep. They're all
Well, I
elves.
probably haven't.
They're all elves except for Samular. Would anyone else like to make a nature check?
Might as well.
It's up to you. You can decide. Okay. Well, Chaticus, you've done. You're a sort of a botanist by with a couple of degrees of separation, but you've read.
And the best damn chef around.
And you do know your exotic ingredients. This is a plant that can only produce a fruit such as this. I have to come up with a name for it. It has a few different names. Some of which are candy plant or great red syrup, as the juice is red. But it's a plant that can only grow in a certain kind of soil, and it's very, very hard to come by. But its juice is delicious, and the one elf comes with a tray with that juice in it, or with the juice in like cups, made of leaves.
My eyes
Bet takes one.
quite a bit as I grab the glass.
Ren also grabs it and drinks it.
Is the sweetest, one of the sweetest and fruity aroma juices you've ever had.
These taste just like I thought red should always taste.
Can I get seconds?
He smiles and he says, I'm sorry, I don't think there's enough. Or rather, I'd have to open up another fruit, and I don't think that or Lady Moonshard would appreciate that.
I'll take one more good little sip, and then I'll pass the rest of mine back to Bit.
Oh, no. You have your share.
Have you not seen my size? My share is probably too much for me right now. Please.
If you insist. She takes it and drinks.
Mrs. Snow, is this like the best juice you've ever had?
It is very pleasant.
It is very pleasant.
I agree, it is very pleasant.
Some more time passes. Is there anything you guys want to do, or do you want to converse with anybody? Are you just chilling in the really comfy grass?
Ren has laid down in the grasses and kind of doing like grass angels because it feels so good.
I think Bit joins her, because that grass does probably feel really good.
It's cool to the touch, and there's no rough plants anywhere around it. Any of the rough plants would be on the walls.
Ren, is this what heaven feels like?
This is some good grass. Stoneflame, you should try this.
Stoneflame then kneels and feels the grass, and then he just kind of falls down on his front. This is very nice.
This is going to be a very good place to sleep tonight.
An elf that is more martially inclined with a pair of short swords on his belt approaches. and he's smiling, and he says in a sort of broken common, glad grass soft. As he says, he addresses the two Goliaths.
This is good grass.
And he smiles a little bit more, and he says, good grass. And then he looks to Snow, and he says, actually, he looks to Snow, and he looks back to the Goliaths, and he says, I'm improvising here, give me a second. He says, he addresses both Stoneflame and Ren, and he says, hope you two lay well together. And then Stoneflame's like, wait, what?
Snow is trying real hard to not grin.
He then
or
looks.
laugh.
He then looks at Snow and he says, "Did I say that right? I wanted to wish them a happy relaxation in the grass." In Elvish, he says that in Elvish.
It came off as though you wished them a good night together, as if they were sleeping together.
His eyes then go wide, and you can see a blush forming on his face, and then he says in common, "Sorry, did not mean that." And then he says in Elvish to Snow, "I should go," and he just kind of walks toward the dormitories.
He was really weird.
I promise you, he did not mean to insinuate what he did.
Oh, no worries, because I would never with that.
Stoneflame just stays silent.
He is too good friend. That's what I mean. I don't mean to hurt your feelings, Stoneflame.
I don't know how Stoneflame would react to this.
Is he blushing?
No, he's not blushing. He's just he looks more confused. He looks more confused than anything. He's just kind of like, I also had trouble with common when I first started trying to speak it. I probably would have made the same mistake. Some more time passes. And you hear the door to the crypt open. And eyes are drawn in that direction as Samular steps out, and he has a weary look on his face. A disappointed look on his face. As he steps out. Huh?
Ren just jumps up really quick and brushes herself off. She doesn't want to look foolish.
A slumped body over his shoulder. The orc lays dead. And with a dejected look on his face, he walks to the compost mound, and you watch as he lifts the cover, the smell of rot filling the air as he takes the body and hefts it into the sump. And he shuts the natural lid, and it's not long before the smell dissipates. And he dusts his hands off, and he walks towards GTF, and he acknowledges some of the wood elves around with a sort of, well, I tried kind of look on his face. And he says, well now, allow me to cleanse my hands, and we can begin the ceremony to grant you your boon.
Ren's got kind of a sad look on her face.
Samular does not acknowledge it as he turns and heads toward that fountain near the dormitories. And you can see from where you are, he's washing his hands.
I'm gonna turn to everybody and sort of say, I think we should find out what this boon is before he gives it to us.
He just killed that orc.
Well, what
The
do
orc
you...
might have tried to kill him beforehand.
Stoneflame just kind of confusedly rubs his neck. It seemed like he was sad about it. They must have very weird customs. What are you guys doing? If anything.
Ren is kind of towing the grass. She's just really kind of disturbed about the orc being killed so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
She's just standing there. She's got some misgivings about Samuel now.
Bit puts her paw on Ren. Perhaps he needs some help. Maybe from you. In talking with these orcs.
It is way too late now. He killed him. He was a very strong man. And that orc was not threatening him.
Yeah, I'm not sure about him now either.
I will say, before you guys make assumptions, you did hear from Elquinus that the boon comes from that tree, and that everyone has had it. Everyone here. So is there anything you're going to do? Otherwise, I will move along.
Nope.
Shadowgus is unperturbed and ready to go on.
Okay, so Samuel finishes cleansing his hands, and he and the lords begin rounding up all of the wood elves here, all of the members of the Order of Lichen, and eventually they get you positioned in front of the life tree. I need to change the music. Copy video. Okay. Two. All right.
Is there anyone standing beside us?
There's people all over the place. Are you gonna talk to somebody?
I'm just gonna go over to one of them and just ask, like, how old is this tree of life of yours?
Oh, centuries. At least 3.
At least 3.
He looks and blinks, and he just clearly he did not understand the joke. Well, what I remember is, he says in a very, like, practiced but not fluent yet common, he says, Samular founded the Order of Lichen, with the tree being very young. It was but this high, if I remember the story. He makes like a gesture where he makes a length of like a foot and a half. So, yes, that is how old it is.
Thank you. Good to know.
Is there anything else you guys would like to do? Any chats you would like to engage in? I'll take that as a no. So like I said... Oh,
Well, that was it. I'm good.
alright. So, as I said, they sort of put you in a position near the life tree, and I have a description for that in a second. My notes. So that it ends up like this. Samular and the 3 other lords of the Order of Lichen stand before you, in front of the life tree, while behind you stand the rest of the squires and knights in ranks of 6 or 5. Samular begins saying in common, and then he'll do a thing where he says some words in common and then pauses, and then Lyra will speak the same words in Elvish. And Samular says, "The Conadir Forest is young. The entire region of Koirit Dwolm, less than a millennia ago, underwent a catastrophe that reshaped the very land. But life is enduring. Before trees grew in the soil after the calamity, before the animals returned, it began with lichen. Lichen is the first to grow on rock and soil after an upheaval of land. But lichen isn't a solitary plant. It is a collaboration between a plant and a fungus. The fungus takes the dead soil or stone and turns it into a fertile substance that the plant can thrive on, and allows it to grow and live. The growth of the plant, the fibers of the diminutive stalks, feed the fungus, for the fungus itself doesn't actually feed upon the stone or dead soil. These two beings rely on one another to live and to thrive, and that is the philosophy of our order. We care for the forest, and the forest cares for us. And in the same way, he turns to the life tree. We care for this amazing specimen, the life tree. The life tree is a very prolific growing plant, and requires much water and its own soil to be refreshed monthly." He gestures to the compost heap. "We tend to it, feeding it with portions of game from our hunts and, regretfully, bodies of orcs. But, in return, the life tree reinforces the walls of the priory, shelters us, and in the winter, when game is scarce, feeds us. The life tree produces a thin, sweet sap that in a small quantity can sustain a person for a day. The first time someone ingests it, it also grants a hardiness. All members of the Order of Lichen have taken this gift from the life tree, and today, we wish to share this with you. We wish to support you and help you thrive, as you have preserved that which allows us to thrive." And you are all handed cups made from leaves similar to the juice you just had recently. Samular then walks to the main stalk of the tree, and he takes a knife and a small cup with a handle sticking out of it. You can see just above him there is a group of small branches growing out from the main stalk, and it gives you the impression that this area of the tree is the sole place they harvest from. Samular slices a branch about 3 feet long off of the tree. Then he takes the cup with the handle, takes the handle out, which you see is a brush. He takes out a brush that looks like it's covered in a mushy plant substance, and he applies it to the place that he sliced the branch from. He places the cup back down and walks to the group. "If you wish to accept this boon of health, please raise your cup." Stoneflame immediately raises his cup. And Snow, as you look, your eye is drawn to the cross section of the stalk branch, and for a moment you see a snowflake.
It's good enough for me. I'll lift my cup.
Where's mine?
Ren follows Snow.
Bardic,
It raises.
I'll ask I'll ask Justin if he lifts his. Schrodinger's cup lifting. Samular squeezes the branch with his thumb and forefinger. A clear substance extrudes out into each cup raised. Now you may drink the sap. Stoneflame does immediately, and he says,
I'll drink it too.
Ren too.
It has no aroma. It has no fruity aroma like the juice, but you do notice that it's much, much sweeter. It's like pure sugar water. And as you drink, you hear a small cheer in Elvish. So only, I think, whoever can speak Elvish, is it just Snow?
It might just be me.
Well, anyone that can speak Elvish hears from the rest of the Order. Hail the Green Tree Saviors! May they thrive in this life! And after you finish drinking, you feel invigorated. Everybody, your max HP increases by 6.
Nice.
And you have immunity against a disease that would otherwise kill you once. So write that down because I'm going to forget.
Wait, say that again?
You have immunity from a disease that might kill you. But once. So, like, you have this sort of buffer of immunity from some kind of disease in D&D world. And it's not a very hard rule, so we're just gonna, if this ever comes up, we'll do it case by case.
Isn't that what I just kind of got
I don't know.
for level 10?
Oh, the monk feature?
Yeah, the purity of body.
Well, at least you got plus 6 max HP. It doesn't do much for
It's the same.
It's probably, I mean, what does the feature say? Can you key it?
That's all it said.
You're immune to disease and poison. I mean, Vardic's also immune to disease and poison. So. But hey, you got plus 6 max HP, so.
My max HP is 69.
Nice.
I'm 2 away.
Alright.
Mine is now 124.
Yuck.
Samular bows to the group, and he says, "Thank you again for your deeds. I believe you've been told this, but you may spend your evening here." And then he says in Elvish to the rest of the Order, "You're all dismissed." But some of the Wood Elves come up to the party and pat backs and shake hands, if you were to allow them. You hear thanks in both Common and Elvish. And over this din, Chaticus gets a sending from Gordon. Need to change the music real quick. Well, actually, I'm going to change it to something else. Give me a second.
I'll be right back. Can we take a 5?
Yeah, let's take 5. I like that. Message. So, as you guys are just sort of being thanked and appreciated by these members of the Order of Lichen, these the ranks that you're hearing is Knight and Squire and Lord. Catechus gets a sending from Gordon that reads, "Militia defectors have raided some of the farms outside Forstride. I haven't decided, but I'm considering recalling you. Any news? Your location?"
I will recite the message to the team.
Well, I
What
can
were
say
we-
that is some impeccable timing.
should definitely tell him we were on our way.
We have no other business that we need to attend to immediately.
Can we still spend the night? Says Stoneflame, looking longingly at the grass. It is, by the way, growing dark. It is well into the evening.
The forest can be quite treacherous at night. Perhaps it is best to hunker down and then meet up.
Yes, it is best to stay the night tonight.
So, a few minutes pass, and all of the wood elves, all of the licheners, maybe we can call them for shorthand, eventually clear away, and a few of them go into this area in the dormitories and the workshops, and they start laying out tables and benches. And Lady Moonshard approaches and says, "Feel free to partake in our evening meal with us."
Count this one in.
Thank you very much.
So, several tables are set up, and a few torches, not torches, but actually lanterns that look like they are filled with fireflies, light the area as the night grows dark, and as a meal of fresh and cooked vegetables and this very delicious bread that is very fluffy, almost like a pastry.
Is Lord Samuel here?
Yes,
Can we see him?
he's at the head of the table, along with the other lords. Or he's at the head of one of the tables. It's kind of like a cafeteria thing. You can tell based on the setup that this isn't normal. Not everyone. It's not a normal occurrence for everyone to be in the same place. All of the members of the order to be in the same place. But a lot of them are talking amongst each other. You know, lots of Elvish, lots of conversation that Snow hears is talk about what they had to do during the past firefight and the weird creatures that they had to take down. And yes, you can see Lord Samular at the head of one of the tables.
Does it look like he's pretty approachable, or are they like separated from everybody?
Oh no, there's no special royal table. They're all just laid out as economically, spacely as possible. There's no special place. He's at the head of one of the tables, another lord is at the head of another table. They just happen to be sitting there because they made space for them.
I gotcha.
All right. Is there anything you guys, any engaging scenes you guys wish to engage in? If not, I will narrate forward.
I think I'm good.
I'm
He's
good.
quite content to nap on the table after eating his fill.
So, a few hours pass, the meal is cleaned up. Chaticus feels a tap, tap, tap on his shoulder. You're alright, Mr. Chaticus?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Where were we sleeping tonight?
Well, they have rooms for everyone, but me and Go on.
You what? You what?
What I was going to... It's the Stone Flame talking. He says, I was going to sleep in the grass.
Yes. Well, you do so enjoy that. I'm going to probably head and work, everyone.
He pats your back and he starts heading off away from the table, which is now being picked up. And then in Broken Common you hear, excuse, must return table.
Bit gets up and goes to one of the rooms.
Snow's gonna spend a little time outside, in prayer and meditation.
Okay.
Ren sees Snow meditating, and she just goes near her and starts meditating herself.
I think Bardic would also do this.
Group guided meditations, yes, please.
Maybe he'll say, Bardic will say, Snow, does your goddess ever talk to you?
My goddess works in mysterious ways. She sends me signs everywhere. You need only look.
Oh. He says, and then he just kind of blinks and then closes his eyes again in that meditative way. Stoneflame then finds like a place in the grass and just poof on his back.
And then when Snow retires for the evening, she'll find a room.
It's easy enough. One of the Wood Elves guides you to one of the rooms that were allocated for you. And if nothing else, the night passes without incident. All right. What is next for y'all? As you awaken to the calming light of morning,
Bit gets up, exits the room, and goes to where the group was when we left them to see who was all there.
So I guess I should also say that early before the sun even rose, many of the members of the order, many of the squires and knights, leave before dawn, and you hear conversations. Snow, you hear the sound of footsteps on the wooden floors, and people or wood elves talking about their assigned patrol locations and points of interest that they are meaning to investigate. And you also hear some chat about, I'm going to check on this area of the fire line and make sure that this, that, and the other. It's like they're going to work. And as you all rouse yourselves as the light, as the place grows bright with morning, There's hardly any other wood elves there. But Alquinus is there. And he says, we thank you once again. And we hope that our boon to you will aid you in your own quests. He says that to whoever's there, and you guys can decide who's there. Out on the field, or on the parade ground.
Snow's probably out there.
I mean, I'm sure that once everybody started stirring around, Ren woke up thinking they didn't actually give Stoneflame a bath. Not that he really needed one, but she likes picking on him.
Well, Stoneflame probably did use the fountain to wash up a bit. So he's got that going.
Well, I'm going to arrange my things, get ready, and with a sigh, and I know that I'm gonna have to walk all the way to the forest right again. Chadicus is going to begin moving towards the exit.
I'm gonna ask Alquinus, what is the fastest way out of the forest towards Forstride in the east?
Towards Forstride. He thinks for a moment. The fastest way out of the forest would be north. And then you'd have nothing but clear plains for the rest of your journey towards Forstride if you skirt along the edge of the forest. You could also...
Thank you.
He adds, says, you could also catch the road that they paved that circles the forest. But I'm not sure what the difference is between that paved road and the plains. It's probably a little less, he says, it's probably less strenuous on certain individuals' feet. And he kind of takes a look at Chadicus.
Thank you, Alquinus.
Of course, and thank you again.
Excuse me, Alquinus. It's rather quiet this morning. Did everybody go?
They went off on their assignments. It is very rare that we are all in the same place at once, but with your help, with the help you gave us, the Lords of the Lichen decided to hold a small gathering to grant you your boon.
Did Samuel go too?
Oh, he is gone as well. He has his own points of interest that he keeps tabs on. Stoneflame says, are we going?
Must we leave so soon? It's very nice here.
But Fourth Stride is in danger. We need to go back there.
Of course. Let's go.
Alright. So, Alquinus said what he said about that north is the fastest way out of the forest. So what do you guys do? As you leave the Order of the Lichen's Priory behind you.
I feel like we go north.
I'm with this thinking. Get out of the forest and then work from there.
Okay. The way out this way is a little bit more of a strain, but not by much. There are no other there are no more or not no more. There are no real obstacles other than having to navigate around some undergrowth and fallen trees. And it's easy to tell which way is north, as even though the canopy is thick, you can easily tell where the sun is. And yeah, at just about an hour after midday, you break from the forest. And all around you are the plains of Koyorot Dwom. You know, based on your own knowledge of the region and the map that Gordon has shown you before, that, well, as you can see on the player map, you are only a few miles south of Orborough and the Silch Road.
Perhaps we should continue towards the road.
I am
Yes.
following you, Mrs. Snow.
Absolutely.
Let me see here. I need to do some calendar work. Wait, did I already do that calendar work? Hold on. Oh yeah, I did. Okay. Let me check something. Ba-doom. Yes. So it is, as you guys near the road, continuing your way north. It is a pleasant walk, although a little bit rough on the feet because these are plains and the ground is uneven in parts, unlike a paved road. Chaticus almost throws his ankle a couple times. And the evening of Kythron the 30th, as the sun starts to set low in the west, you arrive at Orborough. Well, maybe you don't go into Orborough, but you arrive at the gates and it is growing dark.
What should we do? Should we go on a little bit or go into Oreborough and see if we can spend a night there?
Well, they probably have a tavern. We could get some food.
I like that idea, says Stoneflame. Food sounds good.
I suppose it couldn't hurt.
So you guys approach the gate. There's a couple of guards. And they look down at you, and they say, "Who goes there?"
Travelers from the Conadir Forest looking for a room to stay in?
We work with the way shields too.
Yes, sort of task force for Gordon and the Way Shields. Based out of Force Stride, are you familiar?
They look at each other, and then you see Vardic fish in his pouch, and he pulls out a badge. And you all realize, oh yeah, we have those. And he shows it to the guard as much as he can, lifting it in the air. Oh, I see. All right, come on in. And the gate starts to open for you. And we will continue next time.
Bye, Joy.
Bye, Joy.
Good
Hey,
night,
Joy.
Joy.
I actually didn't plan for this, but yeah, so the excavators and GTF are in the same place again, in the same time.